This is a program that was given for a Toastmasters International Conference. The title of the program is Live Out Loud. Liveoutloud. Live Out Loud. I'm going to be taking you through a program that I have done all over the place called Live Out Loud. I'm excited about this program. This will eventually be a book that I write. This year I had one BHAG. You guys know what that is, right? Big, hairy, audacious goal, or you could use the A as a different word, depending on your perspective. At the beginning of this year, I decided I was going to try to write 12 books in 1 year because I didn't know anybody that had ever done it. So I now, in October, know why nobody writes 12 books in a year. It's kind of crazy. I have written and published 9 books this year, though, and have almost finished number 10. Thank you. I may spend the entire month of December finishing the last 2, but I will finish 12 books this year. My daughter, so one of my 2 daughters, I have no sons, is in the back, and she will be helping if you want to buy a book after this. So there are the Sharpie commercials. You guys have seen those, right? When they had the write out loud. Kind of an exciting way to think, oh, yeah, I want to be bold. I want to be in your face. I want to do things that make you go, yes, I write with Sharpies. Or whatever the perspective you were supposed to get at the end of that commercial. I think too many of us spend our lives living quietly in the background instead of being bold and in people's faces. I want to be remembered in my life. I also want people to come to my visitation when I die, and I want them to open up the visitation. They come in and they look and they go, yeah, that dude really lived. That's what I want to be said about me. I don't want them going, he looks so nice. I want to know that I lived my life fully. So the 4 parts of live are listen, instigate greatness, visualize success, and educate yourself. Now, one of the things that I started studying 6.5 years ago is a science called physiognomy. So I'm going to introduce you to the people at your table a little deeper than what you might have known them before. When you look at a person's face, there is a science to the structure of their face that lets you know what their personality is, what their belief systems are, essentially how they process information. So when you look at the eyebrows, so look at your neighbor's eyebrow real quick. If you have a flat across eyebrow, like this lady right here, that means you start with task before relationships. If you have a rounded eyebrow, then you have relationships before task. Now, if you have a spike on the left-hand side of your eyebrow, this indicates that you have a strong need for control in your personal relationships. If you have a spike on the right-hand side of your eyebrow, that means that you have a strong need for control in your professional relationships. If you have spikes on both sides, though, you just need freaking control. So that's... A unibrow actually does mean something. People whose eyebrows grow all the way together indicate that their mind never shuts off, that it's always processing. These people tend to sleep less and have more angst at night when they go, oh, dang it, I got to do that. And so they keep waking themselves up and going back to the things they need to get done. Now, you look at the forehead next. I didn't list it on there, but the forehead will either be rounded, like mine is, which means that you're primarily using your emotions in decision-making, or they'll be flat, like this gentleman here, which means that you're going to use facts, data, and logic in your decision-making. Oh, yeah. So you can tell the way that they make decisions. So if you're trying to persuade someone that is a logical decision maker, emotional appeals are kind of pointless, and vice versa. Now, the third thing that you look at is you're going to look at the chin. The chin is either going to be flat across the bottom, rounded, or it's going to come to a point. If it is flat across the bottom, this indicates that you are very goal-oriented, but it also means you tend to not listen as well to other people and kind of have a low tolerance for whiny people. That explains it, doesn't it? The rounded chin individuals, and we're just talking right here in the front, because someone will always ask, some guy will go, well, what about my second chin? We'll just focus on the first chin. So when you... Yeah, your primary chin. If it is rounded, this indicates that you tend to be a good listener and value the people in your life before the goals. So you would give up a goal in order to make people happy versus the square chin people who would give up a person to meet the goal. Somehow or another, square chin people always figure out where the round chin people are, and when a whiny person comes to them, they go, "Hey, why don't you go talk to her? She'll listen to you even if she doesn't want to." Finally, you have the pointed chin people. These are the people that their face kind of comes down to a point. Think Timothy McVeigh, think a witch in a movie, or think every supervillain that you've ever seen in a movie. What does their chin look like? It comes to a point. Hollywood figured out this a long time ago, even without knowing the science, that those people scare us. Those are the individuals who have become disillusioned with relationships and therefore do not connect well with the people that are around them. They prefer to be by themselves, and they look at other people and think, "Oh, crap, I can't deal with that one, and that one, and that one." There aren't that many people who really have pointed chins that you will run into in normal society. If you deal with psychopathy or ex-cons or things like I did in my first job, you will have seen quite a few of them. Most of them have become disillusioned as well. Next, you look at the ears. How many of you have heard of the VAC learning model, the visual, auditory, and kinesthetic? It's the way we process information. Here's a very quick tip. Instead of having to give the VAC learning model test to an individual, all you really have to do is look at their ears to know how they process. If you have larger ears that stick out from your head, these are your auditory processors. Smaller ears back towards the head, these are your visual processors. And if you have the inner ear ridge that sticks out further than the outer ear ridge, these are kinesthetic processors. So you have auditory, visual, kinesthetic. Auditory, visual, kinesthetic. An auditory thinker uses logic. They use words like, "Let's talk about this, let's think through this, I need you to fully understand this." The visual people will use comparisons. "So when you do this, it's going to be just like that." That's the way that they'll tend to explain things. Or they'll say, "I need you to get a picture of what I'm talking about here. Do you see what I'm saying?" Questions like that. And the kinesthetic person would say, "Does that make sense to you? I mean, what are we going to do about this? How do you feel about that?" So they use feeling and action words in the way that they process information. So when you're engaging with someone and you look at their ears and you go, "Visual person." So when I check for clarification, I'm going to say, "Do you see what I'm saying? Do you get a picture of where I'm trying to go with this?" And it's going to trigger their mind and make it much easier for them to understand you. Last thing that you're going to look at is the person's nose. Now, there's two specific characteristics, actually 7, but I'm only going to teach you 2. First, you look for a little ridge on the nose right here. So it comes down and kind of bumps out. Now, that's known as the defensiveness bump. And I know what you're thinking. No. A kid broke my nose in junior high. Here's the reality. You were defensive, and so you became aggressive, and that's why you got your nose broken in junior high. You already had that defensiveness in your personality. So if you have that bump, that indicates you're the kind of person that we shouldn't back into a corner. We don't want to push them too hard, and in a sales setting, you would never want to try to hard close that individual. Then you look at the side of the nose. You look for these little lines like what you have, and this indicates fierce independence. These are the people that you don't tell what to do. Instead, you give them choices. "Hey, we've got this and we've got this that needs to be done. Which one would you prefer to do?" And they'll choose the one that's right for them. So when you're listening to a person and when you're communicating with a person, keep in mind that your ability to read them, who they are, what they need, where they're going, is the most critical aspect of communication. What we say is not as important as how we say it. And to quote Tony Robbins, the quality of your communication is always the quality of the response that you get. So it's always about what are you getting from the other person to know if you've done a good job in actually connecting and communicating. The second thing in live is to instigate greatness. You have to set the example. Think about your children. If you want your children to be nice, what do you have to be? Nice. We live in a monkey-see, monkey-do world. I want my employees to read books and develop themselves and go to programs. So what do? I read books and I develop myself and I go to programs. Even though I am writing a lot, I still read other people's books. When I first went into business, I made it a point to read one book a month for personal development. Every single month. That has been since 1999. By the time you've read a couple of hundred books, you start becoming very proficient in the areas that you're interested in, whether it is public speaking or leadership or sales or anything else. You need to read books. When I was in college, I was told that you're not an expert on anything until you've read 100 books on that specific subject. That is a lot of books, and that is why I'm not an expert on Victorian prose and poetry. Second thing you have to do to instigate greatness in other people is master your own emotions. When I started out in martial arts at 9 years old, the very first and most important lesson that I learned in martial arts was how to not get mad. The problem, my instructor told me, was that when you get mad, you've lost control of you. The second you lose control of you, you're going to get your butt kicked. The same is true in business and in life. When you lose control of you, you're going to get your butt kicked. So you have to keep control of your emotions. You do that through perspective. As soon as you get into a situation that could be bad, you ask yourself the question, what if it meant something else? If it meant something else, it might be better. So all you have to do is redefine in your mind what something could mean, and then you can interpret it in a different way. I have always found that imitating other great leaders is a great way to go. I don't have enough time in my life to make every mistake that's been made out there in the past. Napoleon Hill, in his book Think and Grow Rich, made it very clear that if you can learn from what successful people have done, then you will start to behave like them. You imitate their behaviors. When you imitate their behaviors, you replicate their results. When you replicate their results, it reinforces through experience what your belief should be, which then creates your thoughts, which then creates your behaviors. So you start with the behavior, and that is going to loop back to changing your actual belief system. Interestingly enough, your face will change when you change your beliefs. If you become more goal-oriented and less relationally oriented, your chin will change from a rounded chin to a square chin. So your actual belief system is replicated in the soft tissue of your face, which is why people with multiple personalities can actually change eye color and facial structure within 60 minutes of switching their personality, which is really fascinating. Luckily, I've gotten to be around a lot of crazy people in my life and had the chance to be exposed to that. I always told my employees, lose the whining. Zen saying says, there are no excuses. There are only actions. Here's the reality. If you whine and you complain, you get more of what you whine and complain about. It's not the secret, as Rhonda Bren put it, it's psychology. Whatever you put your conscious mind to focus on, your subconscious mind starts looking for. Your subconscious mind processes 2 million bits per second of information. Your conscious mind, 1,000 bits per second. But it's the filter. And so if you start filtering for bad things, you start looking for crap in your life, you literally become a crap magnet. All you do is magnetize yourself to pull more crap into your life and less of the good stuff. You have to energize yourself. Your energy level is based on several things. First and foremost, your attitude. But where does your attitude come from? It comes from your physiology. What does a happy person look like? Do they look like this? No, that's what a bored idiot in high school looks like. A happy person looks like this. They're smiling, they open their face up, they make themselves available to other people. Here's my challenge to you. If you don't do anything else that I recommend, do this one thing. Every day when you wake up, smile for 2 minutes and say, man, something awesome is going to happen today. Now, you may look like a moron, and your spouse may wonder why, when you're going to the bathroom, you're going, it's okay. Stop worrying about what they think. Smile for 2 minutes and say the saying, something awesome is going to happen today. When you visualize your success, you're thinking in pictures, not words. The subconscious mind does not think in words. The subconscious mind is rooted in the limbic system of the brain, the emotional center of the brain, but it's also where pictures are housed. So when you start trying to create the success that you want in your life, you have to think, what does that look like to me? If I was going to write out a picture of success and then take action on that picture, what would it look like? The mind also works in present tense, not future, not past. So when you're setting your goals, the worst thing that we can do is go, man, someday I'm going to be the best Toastmaster there ever is. Someday doesn't happen. What you have to do is say, today is October the 25th, 2015. I said 15, not 14. I have just won the International Toastmaster Award. I am now the greatest speaker that the world has ever seen. Present tense, not future, not past. And you need to go around saying that to yourself. David Letterman, when he was in junior high and high school with giant buck teeth sticking out, said, someday I'm going to be on TV. I'm going to have my own show. And people made fun of him. They're like, no, you're a dork. And dorks don't get on TV. Well, I beg to differ. Dorks who believe in themselves and who establish, I am the greatest late night host ever, are the ones who become the greatest late night host ever. When you set your goals, make sure that they are smart, they are specific, they are measurable, they are action-oriented, they are realistic, but still challenging, and they are time-defined. SMART goal systems have been around since about 1978. This is not something I thought of, and it is not something that is brand new, but it is something that works. Most people create fuzzy goals. We're about to the end of the year. They're going to create a New Year's resolution of, gosh, I'd like to lose some weight. Okay, don't drink water today. By the end of the day, you will weigh less than you did in the beginning of the day. Success! You have lost weight. You are done with your goals for the year. No, it has to be measurable and it has to be specific. I intend to lose 12 pounds this year. That is 1/4 pound a week. That means that I will lose this weight by reducing the number of soft drinks that I take into my body and increasing the healthy eating that I do, while coupling that with 30 minutes a day, 7 days a week of exercise. It's pretty hard to miss that goal if you're that specific. So make sure that you get smart. You want to educate yourself. The top 1% intellectually in this country today will read 1 book per month for personal development. Homer Hillis, the guy that was my first mentor, is the one that challenged me to do that. Since 1999, I have read a minimum of 1 book a month. I'm so obsessed with reading now that this year I have already read 42 books. While writing 9 books. So you can't really say that it's impossible to do, because it's very possible if that is a priority. Audiobooks are an easy way for me to absorb information, and I drive a lot. This week I have driven 900 miles to go do speeches in different places. That means that I had plenty of opportunity to listen to books. Listen to 1.5 books this week. So take the time to grow yourself. Socrates says that if you ask the right questions, you get the right answers. If you ask the wrong questions, you get the wrong answers. So the questions that you ask of yourself are critically important. How do I master this skill? Not why can't I? Because your subconscious will say, well, because you're dumb, that's why. It will give you an answer. But if you say, how can I? What do I need to do in order to? Then you will figure out how to do that. When I set the big, hairy, audacious goal of writing 12 books in a year, I sat down and said, How will I accomplish this? Well, it takes 20 hours of writing to write a book and about 4 hours of me going back and adding in the edits to the editor from the editor that I use. So I know that if Monday through Friday I write for 1 hour a day, I can write a book every month. That's how I write the books. So it is disciplining myself to ask the right questions to get the right answers. What you need to know about anything and everything has already been written down. Socrates also said, there is no new information under the sun. Therefore, all that you need is available if you will just look. The out part is organize your day, uncover opportunity, and talk about your quest. So when you think about organizing your day, one of the books that I have here is called Just Make Time. You're really talking about essentialism. You're looking at the things that matter the most. Vilfredo Pareto came up with the 80-20 rule that most of us have heard of. He was an Italian economist, and he was talking, though, about land ownership, not about why 20% of your people at work do all of the work. He said that 20% of the people in Italy owned 80% of the property. A year later, he started going, wow, you know what? This 80-20 rule applies to almost everything that we do. The key to success is figuring out what are the 20% of things that you do that produce 80% of your results. And then how can you get rid of most of the 80% of the other things that you were doing? When I am focused just on sales, I have to work sometimes as late as noon in order to accomplish my goals. It's pretty tough figuring out, okay, I got to go all the way from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. in order to accomplish what I want to accomplish. 3 hours of work in a day. That's not like spread out over a week. That's in one single day. I know. That's what I'm saying. Because I have to call people, I have to make presentations, I have to ask for their business, and I have to bill them. Then I have to implement. Those are the 5 things that make the greatest difference as a salesperson. So depending on what your job is, there will be 5 or fewer things that are your top priorities. If you take away what doesn't get you what you want, you will find that you get everything that you want. You just have to eliminate things like forwarding funny jokes from email every day, checking Facebook 19 times a day. Those kinds of things that don't produce positive results, you just eliminate. You uncover opportunities. I work in bursts of productive perfection. I schedule. For 1 hour, I am making calls to generate new business. For 1 hour, I am writing. For 20 minutes, I am doing accounting, because I don't like doing accounting. But I measure out, I will do this. And during the times that I am bursting for productive perfection, I simply turn my email and my phone off. Can you imagine surviving a whole hour without your cell phone? It's mind-boggling to think that our world still spins when people turn their phones to airplane mode when they get on an airplane. You would think it's the end of the world, and I fly every week, and I will see people that the second the wheels touch down, they're like, oh my gosh, okay, we just landed. It's going to be about 7 minutes until I'm at the gate. Okay, yeah, pizza sounds good for dinner. Okay, bye. Like, holy crap. That was a flight all the way from Amarillo to Dallas. 49 minutes in the air without communication. I don't know how I made it. We kill creative thought when we spend too much time with technology. And that's funny for a person who owns 2 technology companies to say out loud, but it is the reality. My kids, when we get to New Mexico and we turn off our internet for a couple of days, within an hour, they're the most creative people you've ever seen in your life. They're building forts. They're coming up with ways to blow stuff up, just like we did when we were kids. I know half of that stuff is illegal now, but it was fun, and it was creative. Finally, think like Disney. Walt Disney did not believe in impossibility. Napoleon Hill, when he was given an award for changing the way that people think about success, First thing that he did, and they gave him a great big dictionary. He loved dictionaries. He opened it up to the eyes, and he took the word impossible, and he took his pocket knife out, and he cut it out, and he threw it away. He said, that's the most offensive word in the world, impossible. Because the simple reality is, anything that you can conceive in your mind and believe in your mind is possible. You can write 12 books. You can start that business. You can travel around the world backpacking in different countries. You can do anything if you first believe. And that's what Disney was all about. You have to talk about your quest. People who accomplish great things talk about their purpose. Now, had I set the goal to write 12 books and made it a point not to tell anybody, I would have found it very easy by around January the 4th to go, that is a lot of work. The first book that I wrote took me 9 years. 9 years to write that book. Of course, I wrote the introduction and the first chapter 16 times in 9 years and kept throwing it away. The second book that I wrote took me 12 months. So the next 12 books took me 1 month each to write those books. You can do anything that you want to do, but if you don't tell people you're doing it, it becomes easy to quit. So I will challenge you at the end of this year, when you come up with your New Year's resolutions, tell everybody what they are. Now, my resolution in 2012 was really very liberating. My goal was to stop hanging out with people I didn't like. I accomplished it. I nailed that one. In fact, my sister-in-law and I haven't been together in a couple of years. It's worked out famously for me. Let other people hold you accountable because they know what you're doing and where you're going. And I guarantee you, in January, when I spoke for West Texas Rehabilitation Center, and I said, I will write 12 books this year as a part of their goal-setting program that I taught, the CEO, Woody Gilliland, pulled me aside afterwards and goes, are you nuts? And I go, yes, sir, I am. But I know it's possible because I believe it. He goes, I've been wanting to write a book for 45 years and I haven't done it yet. I said, so what's the problem? And he goes, well, you know, I haven't had time. I go, oh, if I can write 12 in a year, you can write 1 over the next 2 or 3 years. He goes, you know what? You got a deal. So he is not finished yet, but he has started. And I gave him 2 or 3 years to get it done, so he has at least started. Now, the last part of this is loud. Live as an example, offer to help, use your resources, and drive for success. So when you think about living as an example, what have you demonstrated to your team is the first question that you want to ask. Now, when I look at the team that works for me, and I'm trying to make sure that I am living the way that I'm supposed to, going along with instigating greatness, I can't use an excuse. Here's what's important. If I screw something up in business, I go to my people and say, that was all me. Here's the choice that I made that led to this result. Therefore, here's the choice I will make in the future that will lead to the result we want. That was all me. Your employees respect you so much more when you accept responsibility and live as the example of accountability. Who are you when people are watching, and who are you when people are not watching? What do you do with your free time? If you tell people to stop watching as much television, do you plop down in front of the TV as soon as you get home? Gandhi at one point was asked by a woman to tell her son to stop consuming sugar. She had traveled 5 days with her young boy so that Gandhi would give this advice to her son. That's a lot of traveling. And he said, come back in 2 weeks. She's like, 5 days of travel? Does that mean anything to you? He goes, come back in 2 weeks. So she goes away, comes back in 2 weeks, and he looks at the boy and he says, you need to stop consuming sugar from this point forward. And he agrees to do it. And she goes, why couldn't you have said 2 weeks ago to do that? He said, well, 2 weeks ago, I consumed sugar. I can't very well tell someone to do something that is contrary to what I believe and what I'm doing. You have to be that person when people are watching and when they're not watching in order to be truly genuine and believable. Next, you have to offer to help. Your job is to facilitate success. Said facilitate, not do it for them, but facilitate. So your job in engaging with your employees is to figure out what they need to do. So you have to be strategic about the way you ask questions about what's going on in their business. Let's say they mess something up. You don't say, oh, you did it wrong, you need to do it this way. Instead, what you would say is, walk me through the steps of what happened. At what point could you have made a different choice that would have gotten us this result instead of this result? What are you going to do in the future? Your job is to ask good questions. Their job is to take action. The mistake that we make thinking of servant leadership is servant leadership means that I do their job for them so everybody's happy and we have sunshine and unicorns and rainbows and stuff. No. You have a job. Your job is important, otherwise you wouldn't have been hired to do that job. The thing that you've got to make sure of is that other people understand the importance of their job and therefore they take action. Do your job and let them do theirs. We take away their ability to succeed when we take away their work. Don't take away their work. Make sure they get to keep it. Next, you want to use your resources. Your thoughts, your teamwork, your listening, and your processes. Your thoughts are the most important thing that you have. If you have ever looked at quantum physics and looked at, and I know all of you probably did yesterday, you looked at an atom. It's made up of protons, neutrons, and electrons. You take an electron. It's made up of bosons and quarks and leptons. You take a quark. It's made up of trace energy. Your thoughts create an energy about you. So whatever you focus on comes into focus for you. So a little test for you. Do not think of an elephant. How many of you thought of an elephant in order to try to not think of an elephant? We all do that. We go, elephant, no. And we try to push it out of our mind. So when you talk to yourself, if you say things like, God, I hope I don't screw this up, the dominant thought is screw this up. And therefore, that's what happens a lot. Instead, you've got to say, I'm going to nail this. I'm going to be incredible. And that's what you start doing, is becoming incredible. The teamwork that you have is a collaboration of accountability. It is not about just being happy. It's about being happily successful. We as a team want to win. Every one of us do. We don't pick team members. Let's go back to dodgeball. You never picked the kid that was going to get you crushed, did you? You're like, dude, that guy trips on shadows. We don't need him on our team. Let's pick this guy over here. He looks athletic. He can probably nail people in the face. It's going to be awesome. You pick your dodgeball team to win. You should do the same thing in business. Pick your business team to win. Not because you feel sorry for someone or because they need an opportunity, but because they want to win just like you do. You want to make sure and listen to people. 45% of what you do in communication in business is listening. Harvard says that 85% of all problems in business track back to one thing: bad communication. So if we want to be more successful in business, we have to be better communicators. If we want to be better communicators, we have to be great listeners. Listening is critical. By the way, the primary reason that people get divorced is because of communication breakdowns as well. And men just tend to not listen as well as women do. In case any men weren't listening, I said men tend to... Got that, okay. You want to use the right processes to achieve the right successes. You need to systemize your success. Now, I want you to look around the table and look for someone that has a brow ridge, kind of pops out like that, like this gentleman does. Okay, so you may want to show people how your gorgeous brow ridge right there, a little bump on your eyebrows. These are the people that are naturally systems thinkers. So they're naturally going to look at a process and go, oh, okay, we'll need to break it down. It's going to be this, 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 and this. And they're going to process it that way. Hang out with those people and you'll start growing your own bump on your forehead. Because you'll start thinking more and more in the processes or systems. And then finally, your drive for success. You determine where you will be, not where you want to be, where you will be and when. We set goals the wrong way. You need a goal. Okay, that's first thing. Try to come up with just one incredible goal in January. Then you need 3 priorities that will help you get to that goal. And then you need 5 strategies for each of those priorities that will help you get there. That is the GPS of getting where you intend to be. Goals, priorities, and strategies. But you determine, where will I be and when will I be there? You reinforce your purpose daily. I am a writer. I changed everything on my social media to say, I am a writer. That's important. If you don't define yourself that way, you will not behave that way. If you are a speaker, then you say, I am a speaker. Oh, and by the way, I have a job over here too. But you start with what's most important to you. That's how you reinforce it. I also am a big fan of affirmations. I give myself affirmations in the mirror in the mornings, and I put my hand on my heart and I say, you are a winner. You are accomplishing great things. Your businesses are growing and thriving. People come to you desperate to buy your books and to buy your products. I say those things about myself, and my wife goes, you need medicine. And I go, yes, but it produces money, so that works. And then she backs off and lets me do my goofy affirmations. I would rather be goofy and rich than cool and broke. I don't know how you guys feel about that in life, but goofy and rich sounds a lot better to me. Invest in yourself and in others. Take time for the people who are important. Do not waste time on people who are not important. People that drag you down, give them the opportunity to change or go away. But do not give them the opportunity to stay and keep dragging you down. Who you hang around with is important. Just like your mom said when you were a kid, be careful who you hang around with, you'll be just like them. Guess what doesn't change when you're an adult? You become like the people that you hang out with. Visualize yourself as a success now. Right now. Arnold Schwarzenegger said that when he was 14 years old, after his very first workout, he put up a poster of the greatest bodybuilder that existed at that time, and then he imagined himself with his head on that poster. That's me. Someday they're going to have posters of Arnold Schwarzenegger. And guess what? He became the greatest bodybuilder we had ever seen. He then decided that he wanted to be a spokesperson and help with physical fitness. He did that. He decided he wanted to be the greatest actor in the world. And he did that to some degree. Well, let's just say he got paid more than $10 million a movie. So he may not have been the greatest, but I would say people thought enough of him to pay him significantly. He then decided he wanted to be the governor of California. And he became the governor of California. And I don't know if he did that great at that, but he didn't say he wanted to be the greatest one. He said he wanted to be the governor. People who are successful see themselves that way right now. And then finally in Drive is exemplify great leadership. A great leader cares about other people. That's number 1. Number 2, they are honest. And number 3, they are an example. Care, be honest, and be an example, and you will be a great leader. This is how you live out loud. This is how you change the world that you live in. This is how you make a difference every single day of your life. So I want to thank you guys for the opportunity to be with you and to talk about this. And remember, whether it's in your life, at work, at play, in your family, in your community, in all that you do, make sure that you live out loud. Make a splash. My daughter is at the back of the room, and she knows how to operate the credit card processor. And she's a cute 15-year-old, so that always helps. The books are $14.99 each. I brought 3 of them with me. Selling with Honor, which talks about the process of selling and convincing other people to do what you want them to do because it was their idea. I have Just Make Time, which is that process. And then the book that you might be the most interested in is called Turn Me On, Unleashing the Great Presenter in You. And I co-authored that with another speaker out of Kansas City. So they're $14.99 each, or you can buy all 3 of them for $40 with tax. Thank you guys very much, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Make sure to look for Jody Holland's books on Amazon.com. Also check him out at Jody Holland, JodyHolland.com. Also, take time to connect with Jody on LinkedIn and on Facebook. You can find Jody on LinkedIn by searching Jody Holland or searching jody.holland at cloudinterview.com. If you'd like to book Jody for a speech at your business, please contact him at 806-355-5567. Have a fantastic day.